What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Glory Boys podcast.
Yo.
I am one of your hosts, Darren.
And I am your other host, Austin.
That's right. And we are so excited that you're here. Today, we're going to talk about burnout. Let's roll the intro.
Let's go. What is up, Glory Gang?
What's up?
Welcome back to another episode. And like Darren said, today we're talking about burnout. We've all experienced it. We all hate it. And but we all got to get over it.
It's true.
So today, hopefully, we can help you do that and maybe help ourselves too. So
that would be great.
We'll see.
But before we do, we got a new tool or a new, I guess, tool to add to the GV family. What did we get recently, Austin?
So, just a little backstory here. We've been shooting these worship videos for a client of ours here in town, a church that's awesome, and we love them. But we've been shooting worship videos for them over the course of the year because they've been doing online services through COVID and really since maintaining their online services, which is awesome. But they do some really cool stuff. They kind of go all out on these worship videos, which is pretty cool. So they hire us. We bring a team, shoot a bunch of angles, do cool lighting setups. They actually will bring in different worship teams, different bands from all over the city. And it's really cool. So their audio tech extraordinaire, his name is Aaron.
Yeah.
And he's a homie.
Yep.
He was at the last shoot. He's been at all of these. But at the last shoot, what actually happened? Did you ask for something? And he's like, yo, here, I got you.
Yeah, so he was using this tool. He was like, he wears this little thing on the side of his belt. I mean, he's a tech guy, so he has any tool and gaff tape. He's got a bunch of stuff all the time. And just if you need gaff, he has 50 rolls. If you need, anything, the guy's got it. And he's like, yeah, let me just whoop it out of my tool belt. And so he had this really cool pocket knife thing, multi-tool kind of thing. And I was like, man, that's awesome. It was super simple, but I was like, that's really cool. Well, long story short, the next time we see him in a few months at this next shoot of batch of videos we were doing, he's like, hey guys, I have something for you. And I was like, why? You don't owe us anything. You guys hire us to shoot stuff. You don't have to give us gifts. And he's like, oh, I just love how hard you guys work. And I just want to gift you guys something. And I was like, okay. And he hands us these nice, shiny, yellow Leatherman boxes. And we open them up. And what did we find?
We found the Skelletool. If you're familiar with Leatherman, you might know what this is, but it's basically just a pretty simple, I think it's 8-in-1 or 7-in-1 or something like that. But it's got holes all over it, so it's skeletal looking. I think that's to cut down on weight. They advertise how lightweight it is. I don't really feel like it's that light, to be honest. I don't really feel like the holes they cut out really made that big of a difference in the weight, but
it's pretty beefy.
Who knows? Yeah. Anyways, it's a Leatherman multi-tool, which Leatherman makes really quality products. Yep. And it's got all of your basic necessities that you could need on a set. So big thing here that I really like is it has a screwdriver with interchangeable bits. So it comes with a wide head flathead, a skinnier flathead, and then 2 different kinds of Phillips, which is really cool because we need those on set all the time. Pliers, can't go wrong with a set of pliers. You can use these for anything. You can tighten stuff, build stuff, tear stuff apart, rip out teeth. You can do whatever you want. And then a knife, of course. And one of the cool things was that he actually was so thoughtful. Yeah. He sent them our logo and had them print our logo right here on the blade. I'm sure you can't see this on the camera, but here you go. We'll just hold it right here. That's creepy, huh?
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
What if we stab our eyeballs out?
Yeah, that'd be weird. But anyways, these are awesome.
Super cool.
Yeah, they're cool.
Super thoughtful. And there's a little bottle opener at the top.
Yeah, so they got a little carabiner clip, bottle opener, knife, 4 different screwdrivers. It's got 2 different kinds of wire cutters on the pliers, and then a regular pliers and a needle nose pliers. So I think they advertise it as a 9-in-1. I would say this is a 4-in-1. It's a pliers, a knife, a screwdriver, and a bottle opener.
That's right.
But those are all the essentials. So
they're awesome.
Anyways, if you're a filmmaker or in a field where you need to cut things or screw things or tighten things a lot, you should get one of these because they're pretty cool.
And no, this is not sponsored by Leatherman, which would be cool if they were.
It seems like it, but it's not.
It is not. But we love them. Yeah. They're a lot of fun.
This is the first time I've ever actually carried one.
Yeah, I used to carry a pocket knife. I got a cool one as a gift from a wedding. It had my name engraved in it, but it just wasn't practical. It was just big and bulky, and I didn't find myself using it. This is way more practical. It fits a lot easier in my pocket. It's got a nice little clip. Slide that bad boy in my pocket, and yeah, I've used it like a few times since, and it's been kind of cool to be. Oh no, I got it. Let me help you. Let me help. Oh, do you need a house built? I'll build you one quick.
So after we got these at the shoot, Darren was walking around like with his shirt tucked in and it like hanging out of his belt buckle, and he was so proud. He was just walking up to people, "Hey, you need something fixed or tightened or loosened or anything like that?" It was hilarious.
Dude, it was so much fun. So anyway, it's really cool. So just having a little practical tool with you, you're ready for, you can fight a bear with it.
It's true.
You could build a house with it, or you can just tighten your gear.
I have thought on multiple times that, if somebody tries to jump me, like at least I have a knife.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's not a big one, but you could do some damage.
And it's not like it's super quick, like retracting. You kind of got to pull it out. But hey, you know what? It's somewhat.
There. It's there
for
protection. There. But yeah, that was completely unrelated from today's topic.
Yeah. But it was still cool.
It's still cool. And we just wanted to share it with you. Yep. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
Burned out.
Yeah. It happens.
It happens.
More times than you'd probably want.
Yep. And we talked before this, and the last thing we want to do is ever portray that we have it all together. We don't want to make it seem like it's all rainbows and butterflies, like Glory Visuals, because it is hard. And you get burned out. We get burned out. We figured that it would be really uninspirational for us to just pretend that everything's perfect all the time. And so hopefully if you're feeling burned out, this inspires you that you can make it through it.
Yeah.
The worst thing you could do when you're burned out is quit.
Yeah.
And so this is not permission to quit, but it is permission to know that you're not alone in your burnout. And creatives all over the world, I'm sure, experience this every single day, because I know I have. So
yeah, I think it definitely comes in waves and different seasons, and right now we're in the heat of wedding film season, so those wedding films start to stack up. We're working 6, almost 7 days a week at times, and yes, we do build in our date nights and our intentional time off, but even with that, sometimes it still is a lot. And we serve heavily in our church, and we love the local church. We believe in the local church and being a part and being plugged in. This company would not be here if we hadn't. We wouldn't have met each other. We wouldn't have Bray, our full-time employee, if we hadn't been plugged into My City Church, and we wouldn't have met Will to hire part-time, and honestly to continue to grow this thing. And we've met a lot of amazing clients and all of that. So we loved serving at church, and I know God honors our serving and our time, and he just brings it back tenfold always, and he always provides. But we have tons of clients and different open projects and ongoing recurring stuff. We have stuff that's hard deadlines. We have stuff that's a little bit later out. And so all of that stuff kind of compiles. And so what do you feel like? So right now, currently, we have 4 wedding films that need to get out. We have a few commercial projects. We have a music video and a couple big projects coming up. We have one home builder we're working with that we're shooting weekly and sending off footage. There's just like a ton of stuff going on. If you felt overwhelmed or burnout, what have you done? Or what are you trying to do to help yourself not feel that way?
I think, if I'm being honest, I haven't done a great job of that. And I think you hit on one of the primary causes of burnout, which I would love to expand on, just what causes burnout. But I think what you said was, and that's absolutely one of the main causes, I think, for me, is overwhelm or the constant pressure. Because once you take this from being a hobby to doing this full time, it does come with a lot of pressure. You have projects every single day that you're working on that you wish you weren't working on, so that you could go do the things you used to be able to do when you had time, because you weren't doing it full time. So that's a very real thing. I don't want to sugarcoat the fact that you will not always be doing dream projects. And so that can really lead to burnout when you feel like creatively you're not moving forward on a consistent basis. And so for me, actually, this is perfect. The best thing I can ever do to fight burnout for me personally is to learn something new. We talk about it all the time, but I think if you're a creative and you were meant to do this, if you're not learning, anything within the course of a month, you should feel burned out, because that should be something that refreshes you, that keeps you inspired, keeps you motivated, that you can now apply to those projects that aren't what you want, but you can still make those creatively fulfilling if you've learned something new that you can apply on them. So that would be my answer, would be learn a new skill, learn a new editing technique, learn a new way to light something, and then apply it and implement it.
No, that's great. Yeah, I think for me, I've just been in a place where every project that I open is just another job, and it starts to feel like a job. And when it starts to feel like a job, then it gets really uninspiring. It gets very mundane. It's just another thing that you have to do. And so then you're almost like less creative with the project. You're less passionate about it. So you're not doing your best. And even if you're not recognizing it, but you just can kind of feel that. And for me, yeah, I've been in that space for the last, few days, couple weeks or whatever, in and out of that place of, I feel like I'm not creative, or I hit a lid. I haven't edited much of any wedding films yet this year, but we're about to both start on one. And they're usually like one of my favorite things, because I love just pouring everything I got creatively into these, depending on the couple and the song selection and how it's edited and colored. I'm very passionate about that. And so I'm hoping that's going to help me kind of refresh my creativity, because we have been working so heavily in commercial stuff and events. And even though that stuff is fun, it has been fun, it's less creative.
Sure.
It's a little less exciting and shiny. And sometimes it's good to mix up the workflow and the workload. But again, sometimes that commercial stuff is more demanding for time, and we have a little bit more time on these wedding films. And so it's just, finding a good balance of the work that you have. Maybe you should work on this commercial project, but don't work on another commercial project next. Switch it up and do a wedding film or do a music video to kind of create that little bit of freshness. Yeah. And I'm really just speaking to myself. That variety, I think, is refreshing.
For sure. Yeah. So there's some good answers there. Learning something new, switching it up with the type of projects that you're working on that day. Even so much as like setting a project down for a day or two, doing something different. I think that would be a good thing to lead into, because I was going to bring up just switching things up. I think in any way can refresh you, can get you out of burnout. We were just talking about this, and we've shared on the podcast before that we want to get our own space soon. And that's not because we want to be separate from the church or whatever, but we just have felt that we're kind of in a place where we can't really grow much more in our current physical environment.
Right.
I mean, our office is legitimately as full of stuff as you can get without it feeling like a hoarder's closet.
Yeah.
We have shelves in every square inch of the room that it makes sense to have shelves in. There are things on every single shelf. And really, we can't get much more gear because we don't have a place to store it. And so anyways, we were talking about back 2 years ago when we got into our office, and at that time it was a massive upgrade. And I just remember like that in itself was super refreshing. And that carried quite a while.
Yeah, totally.
And so it's not that you always have to be getting something new or better or whatever, but even if it's as simple as switching up your work environment, switching up, like we got sit stand desks last week because my back has been hurting and it's terrible for you to sit for 10 hours a day. And I remember I got it set up. I put it up in the air, and Darren stood at it for 5 seconds and was like, "Can I have one of these?"
I was just like, man, like I don't have as bad of back problems, but I like have neck issues, and just sitting and like looking up at the screen, like, it's just not good for anyone, whether you have a good back or bad back. Even posture sitting, these are the chairs we sit in, and they're just like, they're IKEA. They're terrible. They're IKEA chairs. They've worked great, but we've been using them for 3 years, and there's no cushion. There's no lumbar support. There's
no ergonomics.
They're just chairs. And so, we got sit stand desks so we can kind of, again, add variety to our day. Like I actually was on the way here. I haven't actually got to use my sit stand desk for a full work day. And I was on the way driving here, and I was like, oh my gosh, I get to stand at my desk today. Like that was something that got me excited. It seems so silly, but a little thing like that. We got these sit stand desks off Amazon for like $200, and just the frame. We used the regular piece of butcher block that we had on our original desks, but They're dual motor. They're really awesome, but it was just exciting. We put them together. We did a little bit of cable management so they didn't like rip everything apart. Yeah. But yeah, just a little bit of variety and something to do where like, there's been a lot of times where I'm just like falling asleep on my desk because I'm just sitting there for so long. Yep. It's just, yeah, so stand desks will not only be better for us ergonomically, but just I think it adds a fun variety to our day for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And it like stupidest thing ever, but we had like easels that were our other legs of our desk, and it literally saves like a full foot of foot room now.
Yeah.
In an already very crowded office, it makes a huge difference.
Yep.
So anyways, not that has anything to do with burnout, but it's just something that it switches things up.
Yeah.
If you want to change your seating, like something as simple as
rearranging your whole office. Yep. Too. You know, we can't right now, but I remember we used to do that pretty often. And now we have this thing called, we call it the mega desk, because it's 4 desks that are all in the center of the office. There's no moving them in the current state that they're in now. So yeah, I mean, we do desire to be in a bigger spot. Again, another thing too, that seems like could feel a little bit more burnout. In our first and a couple episodes, actually, we've talked about how we never started a podcast because we never really had the room or time to. Well, I would say that maybe we're in a season 2 now that it feels like putting out the podcast isn't worth it. You know, do we have the time? We have to set up. So if you're on YouTube, you can see the setup. It's not crazy. We have a little sign in the back and we have a couple Pavo tubes. We have a light above us and we have our 2 mics and this desk, but we bring all of this in and we actually set it up every single podcast. And then we strike it all and put it all back. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but sometimes when you're like, man, we got to go set up the whole podcast, spend 45 minutes dialing everything in, lighting, audio, cameras. And then we're like, okay, now we got to do all the podcasts. So we'll write them all down on this sheet and we'll go through it. But then after we're done, we're like, okay, that was awesome. We got them done. Oh, we have to tear down. Mm-hmm. And it's discouraging sometimes. Yep. And so obviously, if we had a bigger space, we would love to have something that we sit down, we do a couple episodes, and we get up and go back to our office.
Yep.
And so that's a big dream of ours, and we're putting that as a short-term goal to have more of a permanent setup for our podcast and for some other YouTube content, because it would make it a little bit more accessible and a little bit more easy to do.
Yeah, for sure. The tough thing about burnout is usually the things that go first when you're feeling burnout or when you're feeling overwhelmed are the things that get you out of your burnout.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. No,
so that's the hardest part, I feel like, is like, if we're feeling burnt out, we're feeling overwhelmed, we're feeling, like we're running on empty, which is a lot more of the time than not, I feel like sometimes, unfortunately, but it's just the reality of where we're at right now. Like, we're still in grind phase of our business. We're still, working towards goals, and we're still basically juggling 2 full-time jobs essentially between our involvement in church and our business, trying to grow that. But the first things that go out the window, if we're feeling that, are the podcast, is Content Friday, is all of these things that actually bring us joy, that get us out of the routine of just client project after client project after client project.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate thing about burnout. And how do we get over that?
Yeah, a ton of it too. And we've done this and known this forever, but it's just time management also. Because I mean, we're always going to be quote unquote busy, or we're always going to have, we're growing a company and we're ever growing still to this day, acquiring new clients, new people that are coming in to get videos from us, and new weddings and all of that. So it's awesome. We love it. And that's the plan. We want to be a profitable company. We're not just going to sit at, hey, we're going to stay and make this much and we'll just stay that way the whole time. But if I feel like we're hitting a lid, and we do need to start thinking and dreaming bigger so that we can kind of expand past that. Like, what is the next step for us? Where are we going next? And I think that's very, very important to set those in order for us to not feel the burnout that we tend to feel sometimes when we get that overwhelming amount of work, which seems kind of funny because it's a blessing that we have so much work. It's so great that we get to work on the projects that we do. We love our clients. We love our brides that we work with. We love the artists that we're working with. It's such a blessing. But you and I are only 2 people, and Bray is 3 now. So we have 3 full-time people, and there's a capacity that we're going to hit as 3 people, and we're going to start to feel it once we're getting through that capacity. So what's the answer? I don't know. We hire another person, or, those discussions about what are we doing next to grow past that, that season or that valley of burnout, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's really good what you said, setting goals and like having something to look forward to helps you get through the burnout.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, I think that's, like you said, that's something that I think is maybe causing us to feel some of this is that since like we started the podcast, we had goals at the beginning of the year. We started the podcast, check. We made money on YouTube, check. We've been doubling down on that, putting out tons of content. So check to all of that. Now what's next? And that's really kind of just reminded me that like we need to have that conversation because that will help us get through the burnout.
I just literally had a revelation as you were saying that. It's funny. We set all these really pretty high goals in the very beginning of the year. Even right before the beginning of the year, we came in strong with vision and dreams and expectations and all this excitement. And honestly, I think we hit them sooner than we thought.
Yeah.
And so once we hit the goals that we had, the long-term goals or longer than we thought, we hit them so early on that we didn't have anything to look forward to after that, which is probably just our issue.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And we just need to like sit down.
Yeah,
and
we're like slowing down God here.
Yeah. He's like, hey, bro, like I met your expectations far more than you could ever imagine, which he promises in his word. So now
I got more for you. But I'm just waiting on you.
So now we need to like go sit down, like get a burger and a beer and talk about what we want to do next.
Yep.
And so, that's the thing. And that's really the answer is if we don't have something that we're learning, if we don't have something that we're looking forward to, we oftentimes will find ourselves in this place.
Yep.
And so the answer is, well, we need to probably have more vision and bigger dreams because obviously He's a slow, fast God, but he also has been pretty fast this year with our expectations. And maybe we set the bar too low because, I mean, if God has a huge plan for this, I don't want to rob ourselves or block God from really moving because we didn't have the vision and we were too caught up in our computers and on different projects. I want to experience more of what he has for us for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's one thing that just reminded me of, and then we can wrap up.
Yeah.
I've been feeling that and feeling a conviction that if you get to work and the first thing you do is get on your computer and get right into tasks, you should rethink that.
Yeah.
I'm preaching from a place of hypocrisy right now because we're really bad at this, but something that I've been really trying to do and wanting to do more is have a healthy morning routine.
Yeah.
Because I've just noticed the days that we get to the office on time, for one, use our time effectively. But first, before we get into any projects, before we check email, before we check what the to-dos are, because that is what leads to the burnout, is like all you're thinking about is your to-do list.
Yeah.
Before we do any of that, if we can do a leadership devotional, like pray together, just see how each other's doing.
Yeah.
And like as a group, discuss and agree on what are we going to work on today before we get started. Yeah. That I feel like helps a ton. And so that was just something as you were talking that I thought of.
I think that's really great. And it just kind of sets the tone to where we would, I remember a few days ago we have a John Maxwell leadership devotional, and it has a scripture reading at the top, and then it has like a practical for business ownership or leadership. And it's really great. And he usually has a pretty tough question that it asks, and we all really have to think about it. And then we all share what we think about the question. And then we ask like, hey, how are we doing? How are you doing? And I remember expressing like, hey guys, I don't feel like I'm doing super awesome. I remember that day being pretty awesome because of the fact that even though I wasn't doing super well, you and Bray knew, and then you guys were able to like serve me in ways that I could tell. It wasn't me just like keeping to myself and like hiding it, because in that, like, we're in this together. And so I felt that, and it made my day feel way better. Yeah, and so it's just being vulnerable and open, and having those times where you do set the pace at the beginning of the day, being on time, cutting some time out to just have open communication, and not just jumping into, oh, I got to get this done, because you can do that and you'll stay doing that for weeks, and you'll realize, holy crap, I'm burnt out.
Amen. Being honest and vulnerable, super important. And really that's what we try to do with this podcast. So if you're fighting burnout, just know you can do it. don't give up. Don't quit.
You got this.
You can get through this, and you're not alone. We're with you. Trust us. We've been there. And if you are ever feeling that and you want to reach out, need some encouraging words, let us know. Hit us up on Instagram, on YouTube, wherever you're watching this. Shoot us a comment. We would love to encourage you, help you through it, and just make sure that you get through whatever you're going through.
Yeah, honestly, I would just like to pray for people right now that are experiencing burnout and just, so let's just do it. I just felt like we need to. So, hey, God, thank you so much for everyone that's listening to this podcast. God, I just pray that you would just lift them up today. God, that they would feel inspired and encouraged by you, God, that they would be excited about the clients that they have, the jobs that they have, that you are providing finances for their businesses. And God, that you would just continue to bring joy into their lives through all the work that they do. God, I just pray that this episode and the words that we shared would fall in their hearts, would encourage them to be better when they're feeling that little bit of burnout come in. God, that they would say, no, today I'm going to choose joy and be excited, be grateful, and their perspectives would change on their jobs that they're doing, the things that they're doing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Let's go. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Peace.
See you later.